Now I've made it pretty clear that I'm a relatively new PC player. I probably repeated that ad nauseum. But so a lot of these, like, I come from console, as I also mentioned many times before. Like, so I'm still kind of just on the surface level of finding what are the classic games for the PC platform specifically, right? Because for a while now, we've been having, console exclusive games and PC exclusive games. Like, there's a lot of stuff on early access that obviously is on PC and it's not on consoles. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, it's rare for a console game to have a early access game that you're able to play. I believe 7 Days to Die. Yeah, 7 Days to Die is one of them. Which, if I remember, I'll talk more about that later. But it's rare. Whatever. What I'm saying is, like, games like Half-Life, right? That's considered a classic in the PC world. Games like Portal, which are all mods, and that kind of brings me to the subject of today, right? Like how a game can birth a other game, like how you can take assets from one game and completely make a different genre using that same engine. Like one of my buddies calls it acid games. I like that term. Maybe it's been around. I've never heard it before, but he's like, basically it's kind of like, you know, games that, this is at least the way I interpreted it. It's like games that, trickle down from already existing games. Like, we're basically playing the residue, like the runoff of a already existing game. And sometimes that residue and that runoff, that sounds disgusting, by the way, but I could probably find a better, the byproduct. That's now that just sounds like I'm fucking working for like Umbrella or something. It's wild because sometimes that quote unquote runoff or residue can actually be better than the base game itself, which is like it, brings me to DayZ, right? Like I've never played the Arma series, and that's because I believed Arma was specifically, was it specifically for PC? I swear I saw console versions of Arma. I probably should have looked that up before I started recording. I always say that, right? It's like my catchphrase. Probably should have looked that up. I'm only recording stuff and putting it on the internet. I can't be wrong, right? There's nobody out there that would correct me or be merciful with my mistakes, right? There's no one out there like that. Is there? I just find it amazing that it's like a whole new world for me, right? Like, I play these PC games and it's just like it's like I'm like a kid that's like in Wonderland. Like, because I come from console since I was a kid. Atari, I believe, was the first console I've ever touched. And then, over the years, Nintendo's, the PlayStations, the Xboxes, let's not forget the handhelds, the Game Boys, the Game Gears, the fucking Tiger Electronics. And this is where I belong. I genuinely be like, after playing early access games and seeing some mods, like I'm like, damn, I can never see myself going back to console ever again. Like, I have no consoles in my apartment, none. I sold my Switch after I finished Tears of the Kingdom. I don't ever see myself actually owning a console, even just to have it, because I'm like, I'm a very minimalist guy. I like to just own things that I'm gonna use. I don't like things just taking up storage that I haven't used in a year or even longer. And, like, that's a hard thing for people to do. That's why I never struggle with storage. Like, people go ape shit over storage. Like, all my friends are just like, I need it. One of my friends just bought. He said he was playing Call of Duty and he was doing this thing called a camo grind. Man, it's young people talk. I guess it means when you have sex with animals. No, I'm joking. It doesn't mean that. It just means that he's grinding for these specific skins for Call of Duty that are camouflaged and are, different colors and shit like that. Okay, whatever. I don't see the point in that, but actually I do see the point in that. I just don't feel like that's rewarding enough to grind so hard for skins. Skins. like skins. Just had to repeat that. But he's having fun, so I can't hate on the guy. Um, so what the fuck was my original point to that? He's he was grinding for totally forgot. Totally forgot what I was talking about. Um, 1 second. All right, I actually had to stop this recording to go back and find my original point. I've never done that before. I know that's probably like a normal practice for people who edit videos and stuff, but I never do that. I literally just record like a half hour straight, like just whatever comes out of my mind. I do this a lot, you know. I bore my friends. I'm fun at parties. Um, so I originally was talking about my coworker doing a camel grind for Call of Duty to collect all these skins, but I was talking about storage. That was the original point. Like he said that he was in the middle of recording some things. I get some clips so he can put on YouTube or whatever of him, you know, on a kill streak. And he ran out of storage in the middle of recording. So he ended up going out there and buying a 8 GB hard drive. And I said 8 GB hard drive. You hear me? 8 TB hard drive. And I was just like, God damn, what are you gonna do with that much storage? And I was just thinking like, you know, I never had a problem maximizing my storage. Like, for example, my PCs usually have half a terabyte, like 512 gigs or some shit like that. And I'm like, I use the hell out of it. As we're speaking now, I have like 100. I've got several games downloaded, a bunch of apps, including this one that I'm recording shit on, which is Audacity. Audacity is pretty dope. It's also free. Let's not forget that. Um, and I still have like 170 something left of gigabytes. Gigabytes. So I am. I got disillusioned with certain games like 7 Days to Die and DayZ because I originally played them. Excuse me. I originally played them on console, which is like you don't play DayZ on console, and you don't play, you don't start 7 Days to Die on console. Like I don't even know what is the fate of the 7 Days to Die console version. I hear rumors that it's coming back. I hear rumors that it's discontinued. I don't know what to believe, but I ended up playing a very outdated version of 7 Days to Die on my PlayStation 4 Pro, and that shit was screaming, sounding like an airplane just trying to run that thing. And you know, and then I play it again on console. I'm sorry, and on PC, and I'm like, holy shit, this is the way it was intended to be played, and it was a whole different experience. I enjoyed the hell out of it. I pumped quite a few number of hours into that, and it ignited this itch for survival games. I ended up just going on a survival game tear. You know, I bought all these survival games, and that which leads me to DayZ, which is like it's so weird how, like I was saying originally, that sometimes a remnant, a byproduct of a game is actually better than the game itself. Like I've never played Arma 2. I just bought it now. It was on sale. Like I bought like Operation Arrowhead, I think it's called. Arma 2 and some other shit. It was like this big package for like $10, and I was like, yeah, the game's a little outdated. And you know, plus I get to. I also downloaded the original DayZ mod for Arma, not the standalone one, and I was like, I wanted to see what it looks like, and I couldn't even get it running. It just wouldn't run on my computer for some weird reason. I'm sure it's on my end. I probably didn't install a certain plugin, or I don't know how to fuck with the settings well enough because I'm not super computer savvy, even though I am a PC player. But I'm getting there, man. It's a slow process, but I'm getting there. All in all, games like DayZ, what I really want to talk about, the meat of things, is not only the mods, right? Like you've got Player Unknown's Battlegrounds that came from Arma, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think Portal was originally a mod. Half Life, I think, was a mod of CS:GO, or CS:GO was a mod of Half Life. I don't know. All of these games that I'm figuring out now that I'm like, holy shit, these are just mods of games that already existed. And then these mods were so influential in the gaming industry that they ended up birthing a bunch of different other um, genres or subgenres. Like, you know, Scum is a direct spiritual successor of DayZ. I can tell you that now, and it's funny because I played Scum extensively before I played DayZ extensively. So playing DayZ, knowing that that came out way before Scum, I was like, holy shit, this is the father, and Scum was the son. That's the most basic way I can put it. But it's cool to see, uh, you know, like mechanics surviving and being evolved and worked on to the point where it's like almost perfected or whatever. Although so far I'm playing DayZ with a couple friends and I'm enjoying the hell out of it, and it pissed me off to no end, man. I haven't been this mad in a long time. I'm playing on a private server, and I would say that it's been cool not getting shot at by other players. Although in a weird way, I kind of feel like I'm missing out the meat of the game because I believe that the player community is the crux. Is that the word I want to say? It's like that's the main reason people play DayZ, right? To meet people, player interaction, whether you're shooting each other to pieces or whether you guys are trading or making new friends. It's like the player community is what drives DayZ. If I had to guess, that's what it would be. But I don't have that. It's just me and like another friend. And tonight we might throw in another friend, so it might be three of us, and that'll be fun and all. But it was a fucking challenge because I'm a purist. I like vanilla. I like playing games vanilla. I'm not crazy about mods unless they're quality of life mods. Although I'm not a hater, man. If you want to go ahead and play, if you want to turn DayZ into an average Call of Duty type shooter where you can remove the survival elements and there's guns just fucking growing out of the ground like flowers, like please, that's you're entitled to do whatever the hell you want. I don't like it personally. I feel like that takes away from what the game is supposed to be, right? Like not I'm sure I'm sounding like pretty much everyone on the comments, but it's like if you want to play a Call of Duty like gameplay Call of Duty, or something that's extremely similar to that. Like, don't make well, actually, I'm lying. That's not what I meant to say. I didn't say don't make. You can make the game however you want. I still stick to that. I believe in personal freedom. As long as it's not at anyone else's expense, I believe you should do whatever the fuck you want, even if I don't agree with it. Do whatever you want, and you should have the right to do whatever you want. America. But for real, I do feel like I'm like I don't feel like I don't see the well, you know what? I'm lying. I do see the point in people taking a game like DayZ and bastardizing it and basically removing all of the survival elements and such and kind of just making it into the game they want to. But that's why you have mods. That's the purpose of mods, right? So you can basically just craft the game and tailor make it to the way that you want to. But the way I see it, it's just like I wouldn't do that. Not only because I want to see what the developers were trying to make here. If a game's purposely supposed to be difficult, then I want to experience that difficulty. I want to figure out the mechanics myself. But DayZ is a motherfucker, man. Like I actually had to go online, and after many deaths and many hours of no progress, just me cursing, yelling, you know, my friend came over and we both were playing on she was playing on the TV and I was playing on my monitor and she got the brunt of it, man. Like I didn't yell at her or anything like that, but I was just pissed. I was pissed at like how I couldn't even survive. Like I kept dying from thirst, hunger, hunger, thirst, hunger, thirst, thirst, hunger, disease, disease. I kept throwing everything up. And it didn't hit me that it didn't hit me soon enough. At least I learned this afterwards that this game requires an incredibly steep learning curve, right? Like you got to wash your hands before you eat food or wear gloves. You bleed if you don't use gloves while you're tearing down some branches to get some sticks to start a fire. Like there's these little nuances that you have to keep in mind every time you do a simple task, right? Any other game, you can just walk up to a bush. You need sticks, just fucking kick it. You punch a tree and bark comes out. The wood basically comes out cut already and treated like it came from IKEA. You know what I mean? Like that's how games. I had to unlearn that simplicity, right? I had to unlearn that and realize, like, holy shit, these little nuances is something I always have to keep in mind when I play DayZ, and I like that. At first, it was like I said, it was a learning curve. I'm okay with a learning curve, but then after a while, I had to go online and look for tips. That I had to bite my tongue because, like I said, as a purist, that's that's fucking with my ego, right? It makes me feel like I don't want help. I don't want help. Like that's the way I am in real life. I'm not a parasite. I fight my best to not be a parasite. I fight, and by parasite I mean like mooching off of other people, whether it's financially, whether it's for their time. I'm very conscious about that as a person. Like I like to have my own shit. I have, my own job, my own ways of making money, my own place, my own ride to wherever I gotta go. Like I don't like to rely on people. Although I'm also, not fucking naive. I can't make it alone. I know that. I need someone there for whatever reason it may be: emotional support, physical, mental. I don't know how this turned into a therapy session from DayZ and zombies to, me, you know, yelling out into the void like love me. What I'm saying is, as a purist, right, it's hard to ask for help, right? It's hard to, like, well, I don't know, maybe not a purist. That's not what a purist means. Purist means you just like to enjoy things for what they are without anything added to it. You know what? And I also noticed that I'm like that with my food too. Like when we order pizza, I'm like, cheese. Everyone's like looking at me like, that's it? Like that pizza already comes with cheese, bro. Like that's pizza by default. Do you want pepperoni? Or I'm like, nope, just cheese. Like, you know what I mean? I eat hot dogs, no ketchup. Fries, no ketchup. You know what I mean? People think I'm insane for that. Plus, ketchup is so gross, man. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Ketchup is gross. It's this fucking highly processed sh- tomato sauce. And when I say tomato, I mean tomato very loosely. And it's like filled with sugar. So it's like this sweet fake tomato. It's so fucking weird. Ketchup is weird, man. If you really sit there and you think about it, there's no fucking tomato that's sweet like that, like in real life. Maybe, well, maybe there is, fucking Italy or something, but not here in the States. You get this watered down, you know, fucking tomato that's been injected with steroids. Like the tomato has the six pack right from the gate. So steep learning curve, but now it's finally fucking rewarding because my player has survived for over 8 hours, which is like rookie numbers. I know, but to me that's a fucking monumental achievement. My survivor has survived for over 8 hours, like 8.5 hours, and I'm so happy that he did because now I can focus on things like, playing the game. You know what I mean? That's a big one. Like not fucking dying of thirst and hunger all the time or disease. Like before I even leave the outskirts of the map. Like this went on for maybe 3 days, maybe a little longer, maybe even 4 days of me just being so stubborn. Anyone else would have just uninstalled DayZ and went like, "Fuck this game, man." And I almost did. I won't lie to you. There were several times I was very close to uninstalling. But eventually, I'm glad I didn't because I got over the steep curve and now I'm actually doing some exploring and I don't have to worry about my thirst and hunger meter. I'm fishing, I'm killing chickens. Right now I got finally acquired a working gun with some ammo so I can go hunting. I'm thriving right now. Don't know for how much longer. And I'm sure I wouldn't be thriving nowhere near as much if there was like if I had a server full of other players that are assholes, whatever. I find myself nowadays playing games like DayZ where the realism is what I crave, right? Like now when I play games like Starfield, for example, which I finished, by the way, I probably should have. Maybe I'll speak about it in the future. As a matter of fact, I'm 100% going to speak about Starfield in the future, like a full dedicated little video that for it. But for right now, we'll say that like, eh, Starfield was like a solid 7. I'm pretty sure I said this already. I think I did. I don't know. I talk a lot, so I may have told someone personally, or I may have recorded a video where I said Starfield was a 7. But I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought. But anyways, the reason I brought Starfield up in the first place was that like there's no hunger or thirst meter. There's a bunch of food everywhere. They just made an update recently where you can actually eat the food like from wherever it's laying instead of putting it in your inventory and eating it from your inventory. You just eat the food outright wherever you find it. But it's like I just find it so funny that there's so much attention to detail in food, but yet there's no food or thirst meter. Right? That blows my mind. It's like you got these group of developers, right, that sit there and they painstakingly code and draw food from all sorts of cultures, right? That looks highly detailed as fuck. I'm like, that looks delicious. I don't even know what that is. I've never even heard of this. I heard Starfield has taught me like 7 different types of foods that I've never heard of before in my life, and they all look delicious. I would love to try all of them. And they sit there and they fucking model these immaculate designs for food, and then you have no thirst or hunger. I've never played a game before where they put so much emphasis and detail in food, and you don't even need to eat it. It's optional. You can literally play the game for 500 hours and not eat a goddamn thing. It's very weird. But anyways, games like DayZ and 7 Days to Die, they spoil me because I love that. Some people find that as annoyance because they're looking for more arcadey, fast twitchy type of gameplay. And that's fine too. Not my type of style of gameplay, but that's cool too. I'm not looking for that. I want something a little more slowed down, a little more realistic. I love the disease thing. I love the fact that you have to, basically in DayZ, as well as like some other survival games, although I feel like DayZ it's on a much harder level. But like you're basically a pioneer, right? Like think about it, right? We now know that certain berries are poisonous. How do we know that? Because some motherfucker, some poor soul, ate it hundreds of years ago and died, and his buddy that was next to him was like, "Oh shit, I'm not eating that," and then he passed that knowledge on. But someone gotta die, right? Someone has to die to for us to live, essentially. That's how I feel like when I played DayZ. Like I felt like a pioneer. Like I'm like, oh, I'm gonna fucking die. Like a lot of my survivors are gonna die here in Livonia. And by the way, I'm starting off of Livonia. I tried Chernerus for a bit. I believe that's how you say it, Chernerus. And I was like, you know what? Let me try Livonia. Some people say that was specifically made for the DayZ standalone, and you know, and they're right. It rains all the fucking time. Um, Kind of a problem if you're not prepared. A big problem if you're not prepared. But luckily, I am. I find myself a bag that's water resistant, so I just put my matches and my bark and all the shit that I need to start a little campfire. So whatever. It wasn't like that before. I was not this optimistic before. Everything was wet because I was running around. Fucking, I was coughing because of my fucking temperature was too low for a long time. Dude. So games like DayZ spoiled me because like going back and playing Starfield, it's like it doesn't feel as real as I would like it to be. I would like to eat, I would like to drink, I would like to worry about real life things like diseases and stuff like that. And Starfield does add ailments, right? Like you can get fatigued, you can get frostbite, you can get burns in Starfield, but it feels more like a annoyance than a hindrance, right? Like it's just like, oh, it's annoying. He's coughing a lot, or my stamina got capped a little bit, or whatever. It's totally bearable. It's it's really a nice. I can't imagine with the mods. I seen some mods already in the workshop for DayZ, and I was just like, holy shit! Like this game could be better. Meaning that I feel like it's already good. But I'm like, it could be better with these cool ass mods that people took so much time out of their life to make. And it's I'm gonna explore a few. Like I said, usually I'm not a mod guy, and if I do mods, it'll be quality of life shit, not really like Honestly, my biggest complaint so far for DayZ, and it's just the hunger and thirst meter. Like even though I don't have a problem with it now, because I learned the mechanics, I learned how to fish, I learned how to live off the land for the most part. Right now, I want to learn how to garden. I'm trying my best not to look that up. I kind of just want to learn on my own. But I'm learning all of these mechanics. I'm thoroughly enjoying it. And even though I don't have a big problem with thirst and hunger right now, I wish that it was tweaked a little bit, right? Because I can see a lot. I can tell a lot of people have tried to get into vanilla DayZ and just kept dying all the time. Said, "Fuck that, I'm going for the mods," or "Fuck that, I'm uninstalling this game," possibly review bombing it, terribly. Uh, which brings me to another point that's not game related. Why start a game channel if you're not going to talk about games, Dan? Huh? Huh, Danny? So, you know, I was listening to a podcast yesterday, and you ever heard somebody say something and they finally they put it into words what you've been feeling, because what you've been feeling you couldn't quite articulate, and then that person articulated for you, and then you took what you felt and then what they said, you mashed it together, and you got yourself a new perspective or a new cool saying, or you just unlocked a wise old idiom. Is that what the word? You just unlocked something in you, in yourself. Like you just learned something in yourself. And even though I've always felt like, I was listening to a podcast yesterday where a one of the comedians said, he said, you always hear from the crazy people in the niche group, whether it's politics, whether it's the video game community, like in this case, you always hear from the extremists of these groups. You always hear about the people who are insane purists, where they don't, like you can somebody. Let's use DayZ as an example, right? Then I'll branch off into life as usual. So like you have these insane purists that don't want to use guns. They want to live off the land. They just want to use like fucking spears and sharpened sticks and hunt like that, trying to kill a fucking bear with a sharpened stick, or they're drinking purifying water, and you know those people. And then you've got the ones that are got the game modded to all hell, where they basically just remove the hunger and thirst meter, and it's basically a fucking apocalyptic Call of Duty, essentially. Like these are the two extreme ends of the group, and you always hear from them. You never hear from the middle. The middle is us, right? The average people. Although being a purist, you know what? Yeah, I would say being a purist is pretty on the average side, because there's some people that's just like, I don't want to mess with mods. I don't want to mess with the settings and my server settings or anything. I just want to play the game the way it is. I'll figure it out. Maybe in the future I'll tweak it. Um, you always hear about them. You always hear about the people on the far ends of the spectrum of whatever chosen thing, whatever chosen subject or topic. Give me 1 second. I think I hear a knock on my door. It was not a knock at my door. It was a knock at the door near me, next to me, whatever. You always hear about these people where, it's you never hear about the middle people, and apply that to politics, right? You always hear about oh, you should never have an abortion. A baby is God's gift, and under no circumstances, including rape or any other circumstances, you should abort a baby. Then you've got the other ones just like, you should kill a baby even if it's 8 months pregnant, even if you're 8 months pregnant. Like these are the two extreme ends of the argument, but you don't really hear from the middle people, from the people in the middle that go like, yeah, I support people to get abortions as long as it's reasonable. Like you don't hear from them, because these people, like the comedian said, his words were like, because they go to work, they go shopping, they go do normal shit. They don't got time to sit there on the internet and complain about these issues. So, not that, I mean, these are heated arguments, obviously, right? There's a lot of good points, especially abortion. Usually, I'm pretty honest with people, and I'm very well aware that a lot of my opinions are controversial, and they're not going to agree. I don't just agree with people. I tell you what I believe, and if you don't believe what I believe, then I'll kill you. No, I'm joking. If you don't believe what I believe, then I believe in a middle ground. I don't believe in just going fuck you and writing you off. I don't feel like that's the way to progress in life. I feel like, okay, we don't agree with this. Let's find a middle ground. If I see you're hesitant, or you're belligerent, or you're being nasty, then I'll go, okay, well, obviously you're still tribal. You feel to the point, you feel so strongly to the point where it's like you want to attack me, whether it's physically or verbally. Then I go, okay, I can't reason with you. You're beyond reasoning. So I'll let you be. I'll let you go join your extremist side of the end of the spectrum. Me, I'm gonna stay in the middle, because that's where most people are. Most average people, about all sorts of things. Now, what the fuck does this have to do with DayZ? It's that. It's like you go online, you read these reviews, and all of them are from extremists, or at least the majority of them. Don't get me wrong, I do read some comments from the people in the middle, the ones that are just like, this game's good. They'll write something simple, just fucking 10-second, a 10-word sentence or something like that. Sometimes even, some of them are just being straight funny, those are my favorite. The ones that are just writing just weird, random shit, and I'm just like, that's funny. But it sucks, because like it just reminds me people that bitch like that and they're so loud because you know how they say like empty cans make the loudest noises, right? Like the smallest minority of a group are the loudest, and they in turn become the representatives for the rest of their little demographic, right? The loudest ones become the representative for their demographic. And it shouldn't be like that because there's lots of more reasonable people that should be the representative for that demographic, whatever that demographic may be, maybe whether it's politics or in this case video games or, you know, anything else. Um that's the world we live in. But I do find it cool that DayZ has been out. Originally started off as a mod. That's awesome. I like when, you know, that's a good little origin story, right? It's like, oh, some guy or some people got together. I think it's Dean Hall, if I'm not mistaken. I think he's the one that originally started this whole DayZ mod for Arma 2, and then eventually it became its own thing with a standalone product, which is cool. Um, the game's been out for, if you want to count, I don't know how long standalone has been out. I think it's been out since 2018. Don't quote me on that. But even if it was out, right? Let's just say it was out for 2008, since 2018, the DayZ standalone. That's 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. I had to use my hands to count because I still do that. That's 5 years. And just recently, by recently, I mean just a few days ago from December of 2023, there was a resurgence, a high resurgence in players coming back to play DayZ for I guess because of a new update. I'm not sure, but that goes to show you that like this not only is this game nostalgic for many people out there, not so much for me since I'm a newer player. I tried it on console before. It was not a great experience. Played it for like an hour or so and then was like, I'm good. Uninstalled it, then played it again. I had this bad taste in my mouth when I was looking for new games to play on PC. When I saw DayZ, I was like, oh, I remember this game. I played it on console. I wasn't crazy about it. But then I played it on PC and I was like, oh, night and day. Same thing with 7 Days to Die. Played it on console originally. Did not. I did enjoy it. I enjoyed it much more than I enjoyed DayZ. 7 Days to Die. We actually did play that for a few days, but then eventually moved on. A whole different experience in PC. It's cool to see that a game could be this old, over a decade or about a decade old, all in all. Well, if it came out 2012, then that'll make it 11 years old, going on 12 years old. Whatever, over a decade, this game has been out, and there's been a resurgence of players. Like, I'm like, that's really cool. It's cool that a game can essentially live forever if it keeps getting life pumped into it, new updates and quality of life and new uh, uh, add-ons, whether it's skins if that's your thing, or actual meaningful content like events, mechanics, buildings, POIs, POIs. Uh, this is a game that I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye on for a while, and also it's kind of cool that you can buy a game right for right now. Give me a second. I almost just choked on the sparkling water. It's cool that you can buy a game. Like right now, you can buy the Livonia edition of DayZ, the standalone. It's I think like it's on sale now because it's Christmas season, and I think it's like $30 for both Livonia and the game. And I'm like, I think that's a pretty good deal. Considering that you're paying $30 and you can stretch the fuck out of this game. Like you can play vanilla, you can mod it up, you can even, they got DayZ tools where you can make your own shit. Like you can essentially play this game for literally years for $30. So that's the way you got to look at it, right? Like the other, I remember uh, to attach to my point that I mentioned earlier, which was like the most vocal people in the community are usually the minorities, not that type of minorities. So shut up, stop being racist. Like the smallest number of that group is usually the loudest. So um, one of the loudest things I heard one of these ass plugs say was like, "Oh, we shouldn't support any developers or something like that. We should be getting stuff for free." And I'm thinking like you should just be getting like I don't think you understand how entitled you sound by saying that, right? Like we should be getting stuff for free, right? Like Now there are people who feel like that, right? If they bought DayZ and they're like, "Oh, this is a subpar experience. I paid for a particular version of the game. It was not this particular version that I paid for was not delivered to me, so therefore this future content that you're coming out with should be free in order so you can compensate me for your, mediocre product." Basically, it's like that's how they feel. I don't feel like that. I feel like, and especially now it gets tricky, right? The waters get muddy because you've got people who play this game for over 1,000 hours and then say that. You can't play something for like 1,000 hours and go like, I didn't enjoy it. Yes, the fuck you did. The 1,000 hours tell me so. You know what I mean? Like you can say things like, "Oh, lately the game's been ass. That's why I gave it a negative review. It used to be good, and I pumped the majority of those thousands of hours when the game was good at one point. But the game became shit, and then now I'm complaining about it." Sure, I understand it, but the waters get muddy, right? So I don't like. I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe completely wrong, but I think Livonia was originally $15. That's what the devs were asking for, and people were losing their mind. They were like, "This map should be free. It's already kind of already. It was already made in Arma, I believe, was one of the rebuttals or the arguments." And then another one was the argument that I was just telling you, which is like, "Oh, we should have it for free because you owe it to us." And it's like, maybe it's me. Maybe I'm too fucking optimistic, but I feel like $15 is I pay more for my lunch. That's genuinely the truth. Right now, once again, I could hit you with the same thing everybody else hits me with. Well, some people can't afford $15, and I'm like, okay, okay, all right. We can sit here and we can split hairs on economics and how the economy's doing and how you're doing personally and why you don't have a job, and we can get down to the specifics of that. But the way I see it, like I just said earlier, you're paying $30 right now if you buy the Livonia edition of DayZ, which comes with the base game and Livonia. And I think that's how you say it, right? Livonia. I've probably been saying this shit wrong the entire time. You're paying $30, but then you're potentially getting years of a game. I paid $100 for the Starfield edition just to play it early, right? And also because there's new DLC that comes out with it. Now that I look back at it, I regret that. I probably should have Game Passed it. I probably should have paid for a subscription in Game Pass and just played it there. Now that I think about it, because I don't see myself coming back to Starfield anytime soon. Even when a new DLC comes out, I'm kind of probably gonna be like, nah, I'm good. You know what I mean? Like maybe in a few years after some new shit has come out and some new mechanics have been implemented, maybe I'll come and visit it, or some really badass mods. Maybe I'll come back and play it, but I don't see myself revisiting this game any fucking time soon. So, anyways, what was my point? My point is that I basically just countered my own point. I feel like I got my money's worth of DayZ. I bought I already had bought DayZ a few years ago, so I already had it sitting in my Steam library collecting dust. So I just bought Livonia for $10, which I feel was worth it. Got a $5 discount, I guess. But like I said, is an investment, right? Like I paid $100 for Starfield, thinking that like 5, 6, 7 years from now, I'll still have the game in my library and I'll still be able to, play at least the base game. Although now coming to think about it, it probably wasn't the wisest choice because you already know there's going to be like 9 different from 2023, December of 2023 to December of 2027. How many editions of Starfield will come out since then? The complete edition, the Super Spacer edition, the anniversary edition. Like there's going to be so many different. So it's like I'm gonna be an idiot and buy it. I'm gonna tell you that now. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I'm gonna go, oh shit, look, I have this game already, but this one is slightly better. I shall buy it at full price. You know what I mean? Like that's some things that I do. I won't say that's me all the time. I'm actually pretty good with my money, so I can't be taking it too hard on myself. But I will say that for the most part, I do that a lot. I do kind of just go like, I'll buy it because I got the money and whatever. I'm not gonna sit here and justify it. All right. I know it's kind of dumb, but I still do it. I So you pay $15 for Livonia full price, and then you get yourself a game that you could be playing potentially for years. Just now, just do your research, man. Like you've got. these expensive phones that are over $1,000, and you got that shit sitting in your pocket, and if all you do is just go on social media, we've got a problem, man. You've got a problem. You know what I mean? Like, fix that. You know what I mean? Use your phone for other things, meaning like really looking at your purchases in depth, whether it's a video game, whether it's a computer, whether it's a new washing machine, whatever, toaster, coffee pot. Look at reviews, look at prices, like read things every night before I go to bed. I'm always reading shit in Wikipedia, or I'm always reading. It helps me fall asleep, and not only that, like it, makes you a better human, learning things. But you know, it's America. Once again, I support the right for you to buy a phone and just be on social media 13 hours a day. Is it helpful for you? Absolutely fucking not. But I support your right to do it. If that's what you want to do. That's how you want to spend your life. Rock on. I wouldn't do it, but what I'm saying is you can be very smart with your purchases with video games. Like, for example, if you were about to buy Livonia, do your research, go online, look at some videos to see if it's to your liking, where visually, whatever the case may be, and then ask yourself questions like, am I going to play this game for a long time, or is it just a moment thing? It's just friends that are playing, whatever. But I feel like, at least with the people that I know, including myself, I'm in this camp. Like, I'll buy a game and it'll just sit in my library. I'll play for an hour. Sometimes I won't even play it at all, and it'll just sit there for years. I won't even return it. Not the smartest financial move, I admit that, but I am guilty of that. And man, I don't mind supporting things that I like. If I dropped over 1,000 hours in a video game and then the developers are asking for a little bit of money when it comes to a new map or something like that, I don't mind giving it to them. That's like, okay, depending, of course. If you're asking for like 40, $50 for something that should have been implemented in the game originally, now we've got, there's a line. There's a line. I'd be like, okay, yeah, I'm not gonna do that. That sounds ridiculous. As a matter of fact, let me give you an example of a game that did that recently, where I was like, what the fuck? Um, God damn it, what game was it? There's a bunch of games that do it, but there's one particular. It's not the Hunter Call of the Wild, although the Hunter Call of the Wild is kind of guilty of doing this. Um, they would come out with new maps, and I think it's Icarus. Icarus was the game, right? Like, you buy base Icarus, and then it's like, all right, now we're gonna make a new map and charge you for it. Okay, now we're gonna make a new outpost and charge you for it. Now, if like all the things that could just be implemented in the game, like if you made a giant world, I can understand why you would want people to pay for that, because that's more painstakingly detailed and it requires a lot of development. So to give that away for free would be, it would be cruel, and it's not a good business model, giving stuff away for free all the time, especially when you put so much time and energy into it. So when you crafted a whole beautiful world and you want to sell that to people, even though you already sold them the base game, I'm okay with that. But little things, outposts, and little things that you could definitely just throw in there, like you start to, and then you see the long list. Like, if you were to write Icarus, for example, which is made by Rocketworks, which I believe was made by the developer of DayZ, or I don't know, whatever. I think it's Dean Hall, if I'm not mistaken. It's funny because this whole thing is about DayZ, and I just brought up Icarus and realized that they were both kind of tied. Maybe I'm confusing it. I can't even verify that. Whatever. Point is, you write Icarus on the top of your Steam, and when you search it, you just see like a long list of all these little tiny microtransaction DLCs that you can buy, and I feel like that's kind of gross. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I look at that and I kind of go like, "Oh Lord!" Like, I understand you're trying to make money. I get it, man. But there's a not, I wouldn't say desperate, but there's like just a less egregious way of doing it. This one feels a little egregious. It feels a little blatantly, I'm just trying to milk you. Like, hey, bro, look me in the eyes and go, like, I'm trying to milk you, dog. Like, for everything you got. That sounds weird, right? You tell a guy that, like, I'm trying to milk you, dog. But that's what it feels like. It feels like you're just trying to eke out as much cash as you can from me, and that's gross. That's a gross practice. But you got implement it well. Same thing with, like, microtransactions. I don't have a problem with microtransactions as long as it's done well. If you implement it well, if I've played an MMO, for example, like Neverwinter for fucking 90, 100 hours, and they're saying, hey, give me $10 for a skin, I'd be like, you know what? I'll give you $10 for a skin. You've gave me like 100 hours of entertainment. Why the fuck not? And that's exactly what I did with Neverwinter, by the way. I ended up spending like 20, $30 on it. I was like, I'm just going to buy random shit. Just random shit because I enjoyed this game for quite a long time. And I still, it's one of my favorite MMOs, actually. I haven't played it in a while. I haven't played it since like 2019, 18, something like that. But when I did play it, I remember enjoying it a lot. So it kind of holds like this little special place in my heart for MMOs. But what I'm saying is, like, I don't mind supporting things that I love, but you also have to meet me halfway. The developers have to meet me halfway. You have to do it. You have to present to me new DLC, new content in a good way in order for me to buy it. And it also has to be reasonably priced. So take your time. If I was a developer, I'll sit here and I'll look at the numbers. I'll be like, look, what's the best way I can do this? I'm just not gonna. What's the best way I can sell my customer this? Right, the best way. And by best way, I mean, like, what's the best price? What's the best approach? I'm not gonna sit here and go like, make money, make money, make money. Hey, bro, make money, make money. Just pump it out, pump it out, milk them, milk them. That's just, to me, that's just, you're gonna lose the trust of people from your greed. You got a little bit too anxious making money, and you just lost a fan base, or you just, or you came off, greedy, or whatever the case may be. All in all, to wrap it up, I'm enjoying DayZ now. I see myself playing this for quite a while now, and it's cool. It's cool to be alive in a time where, first of all, PC forever, bro. You know what I mean? I'm riding with PC forever, but it's cool to be alive in a time where old games, like, age is not even a factor anymore in video games. Honestly, age is not a factor in a lot of things. Like, even, like, for example, I watch a lot of combat sports, right? So, like, in MMA, for example, like, you would think that, like, in boxing, if you're like 30 years old, you're old as fuck. You're like, same thing with like baseball and then lots of, not only combat sports, but just athletics in general. If you're like 30, 35, you're an old person. You're like, holy shit, you're at the tail end of your career. But nowadays, that's not the case. You still got 40-year-olds out there who are banging it, right? And football, I think Aaron Rodgers is one of them. That's an older, or getting up there in age and still killing it. I don't know anything about football, so I can't even tell you. I hope he's a football player. That's how much I don't know about football. Anyways, um, and if MMA, I can tell you a million of them, but there's a lot of people who are, like, age is we are fine. We're like unlocking the great ways and methods to continue being competitively athletic against younger, more vigorous people, because we know what vitamins to take now. Our life expectancy is so much higher than it used to be. You can say the same thing for video games. You wouldn't think that this would happen digitally, but it is. Like, look at DayZ, look at 7 Days to Die. I can go down a list of a shitload of video games that have been around for a really, Team Fortress, if I'm not mistaken. I never played any of that, but I see one of my friends always on that, and I'm like, it's cool that these games are so old, but they keep getting new life pumped into them, and I think that's fucking cool, man. Like, just keep it going, keep making your game more interesting, and essentially, if you're a developer, you can just continue living off this one game. Like 7 Days to Die. I think the Fun Pimps, I think that's their only game. I think for like the last 10 years or something like that, I think, or 8 years or something like that. I believe that the developer of the Fun Pimps had not made any other game. And I'm like, hey, all right, I mean, it would be cool if you did make other games, because I'm pretty sure you guys are itching to try other new things. But that goes to show you that, like, as long as you keep making it fun and you keep, pumping love into it, like, you can essentially live off for a very long time of one product. And I'm all for it. I'm all for it. I'm also for just trying new shit too, because I'm pretty sure you're gonna get cabin fever. Metaphorically, you're gonna get cabin fever. You're like, I kind of want to get out, try new things. Uh, but overall, I'm with it, man. Like, I'm okay if 10Z. I'm okay if DayZ goes another 10 years with fresh content and visual upgrades and, you know, whatever the case may be. Or maybe even a DayZ too. You know what I mean? Like, which I'm sure it's been thrown around. a lot into the atmosphere. Well, I'm here for it. I'm out of here. I'm going to go get something to eat. I'm dying of hunger. My hunger meter's low. See you guys next time. Happy holidays.